Yeah, I love a good sizzle reel. Yes, that is, we're going to talk about that and other great out-of-home campaigns. We're going to talk about the creative. We're going to talk about the strategy. We are going to talk about a lot of things with our friends at PJX Media. We are grateful that they are indie agency news members. We're also incredibly grateful that more of you are coming in as members, and we can't thank you enough. When we started Indie Agency News, we knew that our brief was very simple: to create the global home for independent agencies. And our mission is service and serving the brilliant people behind independent agencies and serving independent agencies. I got the mission wrong. Let me rewind. Mission, serving independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. If you'd like to learn more about becoming a member and the benefits of getting prioritized as a member, please go to indieagency.news. I'm Doug Zanger, founder and editor-in-chief. I had mentioned PJX Media, and Rick Robinson has been a huge advocate. And when I say huge advocate, I can't say enough good things about Rick. Number one, I think that there are times when we are in this industry and we can get a little jaded. And one thing that I talk about a lot is the sense of wonder in advertising. There still can remain this wonderful, wonderful sense of wonder. And when Rick Robinson goes on stage to talk about out of home and to talk about advertising and to talk about creativity, you can't help but get reeled in. So even if you're not necessarily in the market, but you should be for out of home, reach out to PJX Media. And we're going to talk to some of the key people on these campaigns here shortly. But I'm going to tell you right now, you spend 15 minutes with Rick, you will come out of it a better person. And you'll be stoked on out of home, and it'll be great. So Rick reached out and said, hey, by the way, we did this. We won 3 OAAA Out of Home Media Plan of the Year awards. And by the way, OAAA, Julie Thompson is now their CMO, who that's a huge kudos to her, and huge kudos to all of the leadership at OAAA. Julie's wonderful. And so, this is great. You got media plans here. We got 1 gold winner and we got 2 silver winners. And I'm bringing all of our friends on the stage here. And I mean, I have to say, like, you guys are in the out of home, you're in the out of home space. And it would stand to reason that it becomes old hat winning some of these things. But at the same time, I have to think that it's incredibly gratifying to, to win and to be recognized for all of this hard work. So who wants to take that weird question / statement?
I can. I mean, it is super gratifying, and it puts all your hard work to testament. It puts us on the, our work's out in the open, and people are seeing it and recognizing and thinking it's great and acknowledging us. So I think it's positive for us as a company.
All right, Jackie. So we have you on the single screen here. You're the media director. Tell us a little bit about your role and your path and your background in this business.
Yes. So I am a media director here at PJX Media. I've been here just under 7 years, so 6.5 years about. Time flies. It's crazy to think of that. Before this, I was at a holding company. So coming from that to PJX is, a breath of fresh air. Been in the out-of-home world for just about 13 years. So
cool. Right on. Yeah, you and I will share holding company stories. Matt, let's get a little bit about your background.
My background this is my, I think, 9th or 10th year in out-of-home. Prior to PJX, I worked here for 3 years. I was at Outfront Media, previously CBS Outdoor, and I worked there on the sales team. And so sales has been my primary function. And so I'm we've changed names since I've been here. Client development, used to be new business. Right. Call it what you want it, but I'm knocking on a lot of doors.
Yeah, no, it's funny because I like talking about this idea of we have titles, but we also have roles. And role for every person in any organization is growth, whether that's talent, whether that's the business, but it's how it manifests is different. So Ruben, a little bit about you, and Matt, we're going to talk about your background there a little bit later. Actually, we're going to talk about everybody's background here in a second. So we'll do a little room raider. Ruben Flores, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yes, I'm an associate media director here at PJX. I'm actually over here on the West Coast. I was originally, there we go. I'm here in LA, over here in Hermosa Beach, actually. But I started at a small indie shop, New and Improved Media, quite some time ago. I was there for about 5-6 years. Moved over to New York, joined PJX. And yeah, I've now been here for, I think about 6 years. So just a little over 10, 11 years here in the lovely industry of out-of-home.
Yeah. Hermosa Beach, man.
It's not too shabby. It's a little chilly right now, but I won't talk about that with our East Coast people on the line.
Hold on. I'm up in Portland where we're going to get snow and it's like 30 some degrees. What is cold for Hermosa?
Well, that's why I don't mention. I said a little bit chilly comparatively speaking.
No.
Of course, 40, 50, just icy, so no good.
Fair. That's fair. So, we started with Glossier. Now the winners, so Zola was gold, and then Glossier and Q Mixers were the silver winners. But what I'd like to do is, since we played the Glossier, the Glossier reel, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start adding this. And as we start looking this, and I started with cabs because I just felt like that was it. So what I'd like you all to do is a few things. So number one, let's talk about, let's talk about the mechanics of coming up with a media strategy in out of home and an effective one, using each of these campaigns as the context point, because I know that there are people that will look at out of home as, and it's the same, the way it was in the radio business where it almost feels transactional. And I understand there are certain metrics that need to be hit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But let's dig a little bit deeper into the strategic thinking, and then also how the creative syncs up, and then how it manifests. Because there could be some brands be like, we just want taxi cabs, but then you come in and say, no, we need to go 360, and here's how and why. So with that in mind, and you can take this conversation however you want. Let's talk about Glossier. We're starting with the cab here. So go ahead and dive in on this bad boy.
Yeah, so Glossier is one of our longest standing clients. They've been with us for almost 8 years. So it's just a testament to show that, they trust us with their their business and their brand. So for the award in 2023, there was 3 different objectives. They wanted to support thebomb.com. They're relaunching their lip gloss.
Yeah.
They were opening a new flagship store in New York, so they wanted to support that. And they were launching a partnership with Sephora. So there was 3 different objectives here.
Right.
And each format was for various campaigns. Some overlapped.
Right.
But for the taxi cabs, we use thebomb.com. They wanted some digital media because they had 8 different flavors. They wanted to show all the different flavors.
Oh, okay. Yep.
On a loop. So you'll see different creatives, different flavors. And they wanted to reach their target. So taxis are great in that they could, turn on and off in different areas. So Soho obviously makes sense. Williamsburg, Tribeca, Upper East Side. That's just New York.
And here's one thing. Sorry to interrupt, Jackie, but that's one thing to remember is that this format is really flexible, right? And so there's this presumption that, oh, it's just cabs and they're up on the Upper East Side and they could end up down in, wherever. But it's very, very well thought through when to turn it on and off. And that's been one of the biggest positives in out of home related to digital is this ambulatory or mobile format.
Exactly. And the Upper East Side is hard with out of home. So it's a great format to use if you want to reach there. And same with Soho. Soho tends to sell out quick. So if you want to be in Soho quickly and turn something on, taxis are a great way to go.
Yeah. No, I love that. Matt, Ruben, anything else to add on this particular one?
Yeah, I mean, taxis in general, like you're talking about, just the ability to turn them on and off. I mean, one great thing is, you don't have to buy the entire fleet and cover all of New York, so that barrier to entry sometimes, just like from a budget perspective, not necessarily there.
Right. And that's a great learning. And, and the thing about the creative too, similar to what we would look at with a classic board, you have some wiggle room, right? You have this weird tweener thing. So when I go to London, I love standing in a tube station and I love long form, and I'm just a weirdo like that. And we're going to see some long form in the Zola campaign, but I love that. I also live in a place where it's, mainly cars. So with boards, it has to be a really quick hit. You can be a little more luxurious in, a train station, for example, if you're standing there. Taxis seem to be this weird tweener where it doesn't have to necessarily be such a huge quick hit. I mean, it needs to have impact, clearly, creatively, but you might have a little bit of wiggle room because, if my mother's taking the taxi, it's going to take her about 6 minutes to get all of her stuff and get out anyway. So you got some time to luxuriate and read it.
You do. I think it can be creatively a challenge though, because it is a small format. So in terms of like the long form, most brands, that's out the window.
Right.
So imagery is really important. The brand logo is really important, but uniquely with taxis, because you can geofence and customize the messaging in particular areas of the market, right? So if the cab runs in the Upper East Side, you could run creative specific to that versus downtown in Soho. So that ability is really unique, and you can play with that, and you'll see that in the Zola campaign next that they did that exact thing.
And then you got the Metro card, always a classic, right?
Yes.
How many?
They are being phased out now.
Oh, they are. How many were printed?
Over 200,000. So a
Good
lot.
God, Lemon. Jeez.
You get to save one. I feel like that would be, especially since they're getting phased out. Keep one of those.
It's going to go from classic to vintage pretty soon, apparently.
Right.
So.
Let's go ahead and sell our expired Metro cards on eBay. And I always love this format. So this is in the UK. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you go to tube stops, you do see this format, which is great. These were static for the longest time, and then transitioning it into digital creates such a dynamic experience.
Yeah, and a little tidbit here. It was tricky getting creative approval in the UK because they have different rules and regulations about food. So I know the mint flavor had like a little Tic Tac at the bottom, and that had to be removed just because it it's all about fat content and has to be specific to, you know, nutrition and et cetera, et cetera. So there was a little bit of a barrier here, but we got it through.
Yeah. No, thank you, Britton, for all that. No, that's looking good. And then you've got the kiosks here looking good. And again, simplicity is kind of the thing here, because when I look at a ticket kiosk, like there ain't a ton you could do a ton there, but it's also like, you know, let's maybe keep this a little bit simple.
Yeah, so for the station domination, a lot of these formats that you see our branding on aren't typical locations where advertising exists. So we walked the station prior to this and had these custom approved by the MTA to be able to advertise. So you don't usually see branding on the ticket booths. You don't see the poles wrapped. So it was a custom activation for Glossier.
So, and that's an interesting question. So, you know, Transport for London has their rules. The UK has their rules. That's really interesting about the MTA, because you're right. That's not something that is necessarily common. I'm curious to understand if the MTA is now looking at this and saying, you know what, we can be a little bit more ambitious. Brands can be a little bit more ambitious on this. I'm curious about how that conversation has evolved, because if this were 1995, you know, nothing, right? But now here we are, and it, you know, and it's additive to the experience. It doesn't feel, and quite frankly, in some stations, it's beautiful, right? So I'm curious what those conversations with the MTA are like.
Yeah, so it's a laundry list. But Matt, you go ahead.
I want to jump in on that just because, you know, I got into this industry. I want to shout out somebody named Kenny Pober. He's the general manager of transit at Outfront Media. And so he is the liaison between the MTA and all advertising functions, right? For whether you're an agency trying to buy media space in the subways or this station domination. So, you know, it's a difficult conversation because, you know, it's always about safety regulations and things like that. So, you know, no is certainly the first 5 things that they're going to say before you get a yes. And so, you know, they can be tough conversations, but in particular station dominations, over time, certain stations have become approved to do them.
Okay.
So there is a blueprint of like approved formats you can run in these specific stations. What Jackie and our team did here was walk the station to try to add more, which, you know, I'm sure there were 1,000 no's from the MTA, but if you grind them enough, you know, and you convince them that nobody's going to slip and fall because there's a sticker on the side of the ticketing booth, you know, and we're going to get more money out of it. It's a win-win for everybody. So,
no, that makes sense. So, so just like spitballing here, and correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm thinking like Union Square would be a good station. You've got obviously, you know, 42nd Street. So, you know, Midtown station, some of the, you know, on the 6, it's what, 50th, 51st. Yeah. So you
59th.
59th. Okay. Yeah. So it sounds like that's a nice little palette to work with. So my guess would be like creatively, the MTA is probably looking at this going, all right, we're getting some reps on this. And we know that this is a good revenue driver for us. So let's keep going.
100%. Yeah. I mean, and it has evolved dramatically over the last, you know, 10 to 15 years. I mean, the whole, it's a huge investment for them, right? I mean, the whole MTA system has been digitized in really the last like 7 years.
Right.
And so, yeah, tremendous growth in that space. You know, a lot of overhead though, it's expensive to install those digital screens. And so lots of space in the subways right now. The pandemic certainly didn't help with that demand. It was riding an all-time high prior to the pandemic, but you know, numbers are very strong now. They're not quite what they were. You know, maybe they're at about 75%, but you know, obviously a big bounce back.
Yep. All right, let's go outside. What am I looking at here?
Yes.
Where's that?
So this is Wallscape. So we this is part of the Sephora partnership. So what we did was we looked at major DMAs where
that's San Francisco, right?
They wanted to support their largest Sephora partnership. So what we did is we went to those markets and we looked for something standout, something, you know, postable, shareable, something we could amplify and lock those in.
Yeah, so that's San Francisco.
Yes.
I mean, that's the liquor store I go to. I'm kidding. Okay, and then we've got more. We got more here.
Yeah, some urban panels.
Yeah, love that. And
Some
then and then we got the link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is just showing the different flavors of the lip gloss here. So they came back and
right. They're
branded.
Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. You got your bus shelters.
Yes, this is for the store opening.
Oh, that's a store opening. Okay,
Yes.
got it. And that's okay. And then we got that. Okay, this is great.
Yeah, that's the Grove in LA.
That is the Grove in LA. Yep, there you go. Okay.
Miami.
Oh, and then we got these. What are these called again? They're called what are they?
Pillars.
Pillars. That's right.
This is Boston.
That's Boston.
San Fran.
Oh yeah, Boston and San Francisco. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So now we're gonna move on to. Should we go to Zola?
Sure.
Yeah. Let's go over here. All right. Again, now remind people about the brand Zola, and so let's talk about what the brand is, and then what the brief was.
Yeah. So Zola is traditionally known as being a wedding registry. So a website where you sign up, you're getting married. You can send your invites out. You can put your wish list together for the things that you're looking for. But what most people don't know about Zola is, today there's so much more you can do with Zola today. You can book your wedding venue on Zola. There's a marketplace on Zola for you to buy the things that you're on your wish list. It's a tremendous resource that can really follow you from the moment that you get engaged to the day you're married. They've really checked all the bases. And so the issue for them as a brand is everybody thought of them as just a wedding registry. Right.
Okay. Yep.
So very tunnel vision on what their services were. So they really wanted to broaden their horizons and had a brand awareness moment to let everybody know everything that they did. Right. I think the campaign tagline was for all the moments along the way. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Letting consumers know from the day you get engaged to the moment you're married, Zola's there for you and has a service that can be helpful.
Yeah, I like that.
And so, we really had the challenge of trying to tell that story to two different audiences throughout. We had peak engagement season. They wanted to reach tourists, people who might not be familiar with the Zola brand at all. It is a New York-based company. So, if you're in the New York market, you may be familiar with Zola. But after peak engagement season, they needed to hit New Yorkers too, to let them know, like, hey, you guys, you don't know about our vendor marketplace. There's way more services on the Zola website that you could be using that you might not be aware of. So, and once all those tourists leave after, the holiday season, and it's just the cold New Yorkers left, that's when they wanted to hit all those guys. So
I love the copy on this, by the way. I mean, I like snazzy little copy like that. So
the Zola team was fantastic to work with. I mean, I think the reason why this was a successful brief is because they were really focused and the attention to detail on their front was tremendous. And so, we really didn't leave any stone unturned. And so from the creative side, you're going to see on the taxi tops we were talking about a little earlier, they changed the creative depending on where the cab was, right? So we're telling that brand story, whether you're taking the cab to JFK, where you'd have different messaging, you're strolling through Central Park, right? Just have that surrounded. And so, that was a key part from the brand awareness. We wanted to make sure we had those frequency formats to make sure that the brand message would resonate throughout a customer's journey throughout the day. We had subway formats in there, in addition to like the big splashy moments, which were really important, especially for people who might be dropping on a knee and asking the question.
Dropping a knee. I did mine on the top of the Empire State Building, so it was very cliche. But I couldn't really afford a ring. So that's another story altogether. So Ruben, here's what I'm interested. How many years have you been doing this?
Me, about 11.
Yeah.
I think.
So from your perspective, what have you seen, and again, we're looking at something that is de rigueur now, but in your 11 years, what have you noticed that has changed that has just made this feel more just out of home and just the sheer playground of stuff to work with? What have you noticed that just makes it so undeniably powerful for brands and for agencies that use out of home?
Yeah, I mean, more and more, it's just everywhere. I mean, it's, as our friend Rick Robinson loves to say, it's the people's space. I mean,
Yeah.
You see all the, billboards saying like, hey, this is unskippable, more and more now with other channels. It's like, hey, I don't want to be next to this, taboo content and all that kind of thing. And, just the power of out of home when it's in, the right format, right market, in front of the right audience. There's not many other channels that can just do that. And just the more and more things are getting digitized, or just more and more places that are having these ads that didn't before, when they make sense. Obviously, nobody wants some irrelevant ad just thrown in their face, constantly bombarded.
Right.
And again, maybe it's just because I've been in it for a while. I'm just noticing it more and more when it makes sense. But I'm always kind of taken aback when you see like a cool creative, cool campaign or a new brand, and it just kind of resonates with you.
Yeah, I love that this is in Midtown, and then we'll go ahead and we'll look at some of the. We got a few minutes left. Okay, and then this is the long form that I like. So this was the hangout format. I love this. I think it's so great. And shout out to Zola's team for having the ambition to keep doing stuff like this. And this just stands out. It pops. It's so good, so good, so good. And there's another station takeover over there. I'm going to ask you about results here, not for all these campaigns in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to get to so Zola, high five. So now we're going to go over to Q, and that's Colorado. So that's the inside of the RTD train. And I went to college in Denver. We didn't have a train.
There you go.
There were certain parts of town that you wouldn't go to back in the day that now are very bougie. And this might be one of them. So this was great. Again, I love a good rap. Whether that's a vehicle or transit. I think it's great. I was in radio for a long time, so abundantly aware of the power of the rap. So this is down 16th Street Mall in downtown Denver. Again, just bang, bang, bang. It's just there. And you can't not stop, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's, that train wrap, like the interior dominations, like if you're riding the train, like you're not going to miss it. If you're standing on the side of the road when it goes by, like you're not going to miss it, kind of thing. Yep. Here's another.
And this is a new one. So this is a new format, a relatively new format, right? So which ski resort is this?
I don't know which one exactly that is, but we ran those ads at, was it Copper, Breckenridge, and Keystone, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. Smart. Yeah. Yep. No, this is sharp. This is super
sharp. Yeah, they're sitting there, their captive audience, obviously. And a big part of it, they're mixers. So anywhere that alcohol consumption will be, happening or soon to be happening. So ski resorts. I hear it's part of that whole après ski thing. So.
Yeah, well, I will say other things get consumed when skiing. So then, we got here in the
Phoenix airport again. I'm not a huge drinker when I fly, but there are many that do partake. So definitely a good spot to have it in.
All right, I love it. We have a few minutes left, so we've talked about the strategy, we've talked about the creative, we've talked about the briefs for all of these. Let's talk, and you don't have to give specifics. Talk about results for each of these campaigns, because a media plan, great that you've been honored this by the OAAA, deservedly so. But I'm curious about the results. Who wants to take that? And you can be vague. I know there's privacy stuff. I get it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, do we want to run through each or? Just
whatever. I can jump in right there. We just had Q Mixers. Backstory on them is, look, they position themselves as a premium cocktail mixer, but despite widespread distribution, there was just very, very low awareness and really just across the whole product category. Right. So that was a reason for, all those photos and unique placements that we just showed. And at the end of the day, sales did increase in those two markets. Denver, I think it was something like 18% growth. Right. Phoenix was almost 30%. It definitely helps when you get that sales growth after the campaign.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, okay. And to echo Ruben's statement there. For Glossier, while we don't have the actual numbers, we were told that the flagship store opening exceeded the traffic and sales expectations. So, I mean, clients aren't sharing the results unless they're good. So they were good. So
right.
I mean, they were happy and they keep coming back. So I think that's a testament.
Yeah, it is happy. And then we got one more for Zola.
For Zola, we actually executed an attribution study, which, you know, is really important for our business in general, because out of home can be tough to measure the results. And so what we did was we measured the website traffic for unexposed users. So just like got a baseline for how many people are going to the Zola's website. Yeah. And then we launched this out of home campaign. We geofenced all of the placements. So once people who are, it's all privacy compliant. Once mobile IDs who have opted into sharing the location services have gone through and been exposed to the out of home ads, we track those mobile IDs. We track them to see if they go specifically to the Zola website. That's the only thing we can see. And we match those mobile IDs to their desktop or laptops at home, right? Because we know that you may be exposed to a brand, but then search for it later on. Right. And so we track those habits across a 14-day period after exposure, and we got a 25% lift versus unexposed. So, oh wow, yeah. So that was a great boost. The Zola team is really happy. We didn't have enough. There wasn't enough website traffic to have statistically significant results for conversion. Right. Although we were tracking in a positive direction. We had a 40% boost for the exposed, but the numbers overall just weren't high enough for us to say without a shadow of doubt that was the out of home causing that. But in terms of general website lift to the Zola.com, absolutely.
Okay. Turn to your left. Tell me about the painting. You got 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
You know, this is a painting. So I forget the artist's name, although I have his book on my bookshelf. And so that's all right. On the spot. But I actually got this painting because I went down to the West Village when I moved back to the city, and I essentially took over the furniture for the guy that I moved in. He was like, I'm out, you're in. And the only thing that has survived, I still have his coffee table and this painting. I mean, that was probably 5 years ago, but I've kept the painting and I kept the coffee table because I liked him.
Okay, when you sell it at Sotheby's, you can tell him that he's a sucker. Jackie,
yeah, it's a replica. That I think.
No. Say it's an original. No, no. Jackie, to your right, there is a calendar. What is that? What's that calendar?
It's all different places on Long Island.
So you live on Long Island?
I live in Rockaway in Queens, but
okay.
I have a lot of family in Long Island, so
it's beautiful up there.
It is.
It is beautiful.
Very tranquil, that photo.
Yep. And then you got your I stare at it all day. And then you got your out of home behind you, which is great. Love that little.
Yeah, I painted that one myself.
Okay, that's nice. All right, let's make it a little fundraiser. Ruben, you got such a Hermosa beach. Let me see if I can zoom in on something. Oh, there we go. To the right. What's that picture?
That would be from my wedding. That's me and my lovely wife in Jamaica. Yeah, so we got to beach action, but had to venture a little farther for Hermosa, but it was awesome.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. Well, listen, I want you guys to stay put as I wrap this up. Jackie, Matt, Ruben from PJX Media. Love this. Loved learning a little bit more about these specific campaigns. Loved learning more about out of home. Stay put. I will be with you in a second, but thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. We are going to wrap it up. As a reminder, we have a show every day. Every day, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 noon Eastern time, 5 p.m. GMT. And if you happen to be in Europe, 6 p.m. Australia and New Zealand, we're working on that for you. That's a terrible time. Tokyo, working on that for you. Mumbai, Dubai, like we're still, we're just sticking with what we got at the moment. But we appreciate everybody's support again. Every day at 9 a.m. we got something new. Tomorrow, Fridays are fun and games here at Indie Agency News. It is our first episode of our first game show, Liar Liar, featuring my buddy and my former boss at Adweek, David Greiner, and Indie Agency News member Britt Farrow from PB & a great indie agency in Seattle in the Pacific Northwest, keeping it for the home team. On behalf of everybody here at Indie Agency News, all two of us, actually all three of us, kind of. It's a long story. I'll tell you a little bit later. On behalf of all of us, thank you so much for your support. We'll see you next time.